Chapter 3, texts 34 and 35, translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Varsha, Vata, Atapa, Hima, Gharama, Kala, Gunan, Anu, Sahamanao, Shvasa, Rodha, Vinirdhuta, Manaha, Malau, Shirna, Parna. What's going on? Some problem? What's the problem? I'm seeing devotees on chanting him. Anila, Aharao, Upashantena, Chetasa, Mataha, Kaman, Abhipsantau, Mat, Aradhanam, Ihatuhu, Varshavatapa Hima, Gharmakala Gunananu, Sahamanao Shvasarodha, Vinirdhuta Manomalau, Shirna Parna Nilaharav, Upashantena Chetasa, Matah Kaman Abhipsantau, Mat Aradhanam Ihatuhu. My dear father and mother, you endured rain, wind, strong sun, scorching heat, and severe cold, suffering all kinds of inconvenience according to different seasons, by practicing pranayama to control the air within the body through yoga, and by eating only air and dry leaves fallen from the trees. You cleansed from your minds all dirty things. In this way, desiring a benediction from me, you worshipped me with peaceful minds. Purport: Vasudeva and Devaki did not obtain the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their son very easily, nor does the Supreme Godhead accept merely anyone as his father and mother. Here we can see how Vasudeva and Devaki obtained Krishna as their eternal son. In our own lives, we are meant to follow the principles indicated herewith for getting good children. Of course, it is not possible for everyone to get Krishna as his son, but at least one can get very good sons and daughters for the benefit of human society. In Bhagavad-gita, it is said that if human beings do not follow the spiritual way of life, there will be an increase of Varna Sankara population begotten like cats and dogs, and the entire world will become like hell. Not practicing Krishna consciousness, but simply encouraging artificial means to check the population will be futile. The population will increase, and it will consist of Varna Sankara, unwanted progeny. It is better to teach people how to beget children, not like hogs and dogs, but in controlled life. Human life is not meant for becoming a hog or dog, but for tapodivyam, transcendental austerity. Everyone should be taught to undergo austerity, tapasya, although it may not be possible to undergo tapasya like that of Prishni and Sutapa. The Shastra has given an opportunity for a method of tapasya very easy to perform, the Sankirtan movement. One cannot expect to undergo tapasya to get Krishna as one's child, yet simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Kirtanad Eva Krishnasya, one can become so pure that one becomes free from all the contamination of this material world, Mukta Sangha, and goes back home, back to Godhead, Parang Vrajit. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, is teaching people not to adopt artificial means of happiness, but to take the real path of happiness as prescribed in the Shastra, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, and become perfect in every aspect of material existence. In their previous life, Vasudeva and Devaki underwent severe austerities. The word austerity is not popular. It means taking some trouble. We don't want to take trouble. We want to enjoy. But tapasya is undertaken with the idea that we suffer now, enjoy later. Either materially that can be done, like Hiranyakashipu, and like the junior Hiranyakashipus who go to school with the idea they'll enjoy later, they'll get a good job. Or spiritually, taking austerities for the sake of liberation, or in the case of Sutapa and Prishni, for the sake of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Civilized life means there has to be restraint. Today's so-called civilization wants to have enjoyment with as little tapasya as possible and as little trouble as possible. And the Vedic rules are largely forgotten even in this land that we are presently living in, which was previously dominated by the Vedic rules. And therefore we have Varna Sankara, unwanted children or children of bad stock. Because the idea is that, well, sex is enjoyable, but all the rules governing sex are not enjoyable. The rules governing sex are not enjoyable. Getting married, living a responsible life. Of course, people think that marriage is enjoyable until they get married. And then they start to realize what a big responsibility it is. But still they're very enthusiastic to get their own children married. And there are so many rules governing sex, not simply being married. Within marriage, one has to lead a pious life. Otherwise, you'll have impious children. And there are rules, what time, what day or night you should copulate for the sake of producing good children. Certain rituals to follow before doing so. Most people have no idea of these things. If we tell them, they won't be enthusiastic also. If we say, well, it's worth following because you'll get good children. Their idea of a good child is someone who goes to IIT and then gets a job in America. And then abandons the parents. When the children in America have children, then they call over the parents to look after the children. But then when the parents get too old, they just leave them in some old age home to rot and die. Smiling. I don't think it's funny. No, marriage is troublesome. But you don't need to get married to have sex. So why bother? And then you have live-in relationship. That's also troublesome. So you just go from one woman to another. This is, as Srila Prabhupada says here, like the life of hogs and dogs. People may think that, yeah, a hog's life is good, a dog's life is good. Srila Prabhupada in one talk in America said that if you live an irresponsible life, then you'll become a dog in your next life. And after the talk, someone said, well, I don't see anything wrong with becoming a dog. Srila Prabhupada said, you have my blessing. But actually, if you just want to enjoy without any rules, it's better to be a dog. There are no rules for dogs. Sometimes some Hindus arrange a wedding for dogs. Something to counteract Mangala dosha or something like that. But otherwise, they have no marriage, the male has no responsibility. He just impregnates the female and then she's on her own with the puppies. So although still there's an idea of marriage in society, but what they call marriage is not what your forefathers considered to be marriage. The idea is, or previously, the idea is you live a civilized, restrained life respectable life. There was no question of divorce. There was no question of extramarital affairs. Of course, such things were not totally unknown, but they were not the norm and they were frowned upon. Nowadays, it's just, all the time I hear divorce, divorce, divorce. They get married for happiness, but they find the situation is so intolerable, they think, oh, forget it, leave it. Or I married you, but actually I like the guy in the office better, so kick you out and I'll take the guy in the office, take him away from his wife and take him over for myself for a few years. Then I'll go on to someone else. Is there truth in what I'm saying? So my best advice to young men is don't marry. Because young women are so badly trained in the present time, there'll just be so much trouble. It'll just completely mess up your life totally. Marriage is troublesome by its nature, married life. But at the present time, the women are trained to be nasty to men. Especially the more educated they are, the worse they are, in general. Not that all are like that, but it's increasingly becoming like that. In the villages, more likely to get a less contaminated mentality. Of course, it's not that the men are all perfect either, but even if you get a good wife, it may be 10 years down the line, she gets infected by some bad preaching and she changes completely. Because these feminist type women, they're very envious of happily married women. And they'll go and tell them, oh, you see, your husband is not treating you properly. You shouldn't just do whatever he wants, and on and on and on. And then their mind changes. So even if you do get a good wife, she's always subject to this nasty propaganda that's floating around. But even if you do get a good wife and she's not contaminated by this nasty feministic propaganda, then there's no guarantee what your children are going to be like, if you can have children. Because usually they use contraceptives up till the age of 30 plus because they don't want to have children, then they can't have children. But if you have children, they'll go to school, and in the school they'll tell them that you shouldn't allow your parents to discipline you. Even the government may promote all kinds of extremely nasty things. Last year I was in a school in England. We had a program there. The school was run by devotees, and there were posters and stickers all over the place inside the school, promoting transgenderism, homosexuality. Transgenderism in Tamil, you have to make up they must have made up a word. Huh? Yeah, they have a word. You have to have, because it's part of modern life. There wasn't a word previously. Actually, there wasn't a word in English either. So I thought that probably the government has mandated that they have to have this propaganda in the schools. I believe so. But even if not, probably the teachers who are supposed to be devotees also believe it, because they wouldn't be allowed to teach unless they are trained in all this stuff. And when you say it again and again and again and again, then you start to believe it. If you try to discipline your children, it's not in not here now, but in some states in America, the children are told in school, if your father slaps you or just talks to you in a harsh voice, call the police. This is all coming here to India. India is a backward country, so you haven't caught up yet. So my best advice to young men is don't marry. Too much risk. It's too much risk of too much suffering. So the problem is what to do about sex. From the early age, you've been watching porn on your smartphone. So what are you going to do about sex? Masturbation, prostitution. You're not supposed to talk about these things in South India, are we? We're not supposed to. Anyway, say that. Masturbation, prostitution. Pure brahmachari. He doesn't know the words. He's good. Someone must know the word. You're not all that pure. You said it? He doesn't want to. You don't want to say. He couldn't even hear it. Okay, I think you all understand. Yeah, as I was saying, we're not supposed to discuss these things in South India. Because in South India you're all very civilized. But these are not issues here. Is there anyone here who doesn't know anyone who's divorced? No. If we look at the old women, or men for that matter, when you were a child, did you know anyone who was divorced? So these are issues. No one wants to talk about it. But in the meantime, our devotees get married and it's just hell. What is the solution? Srila Prabhupada wanted to make Varnashram society. Go to farms, make your own communities, cut out from this evil society. Generation after generation of Varna Sankara. First generation of Varna Sankara, they say, don't follow all these rules that all the people follow. Few generations down the line, they'll say these rules are bad. And they'll bring in the opposite. New rules. First of all, they had contraception is good. Then abortion is good. Then homosexuality is good. Transgender is good. I don't know what they're going to make up next. I can't imagine. Don't try to imagine. But it's coming. Whatever it is, things are not going to get better. So advice to young men. Of course you should marry, but then don't marry. If you have so much dedication to Krishna and you can control your senses, then be a brahmachari. Very good. We have Jai Gopinath Prabhu here. Brahmachari, how many years? 20 plus. How many?
20.
20.
25.
25 years. Okay, you can understand. What's your name?
Navarupa Govinda.
Navarupa Govinda Das. Brahmachari, 10 years?
15 years.
15 years. I'm 5 years off in both cases. So very good. If you can do, very good. If you can find good Krishna conscious girl who wants to live as a devotee and not as a demon, good. But too often we find, it may be the boys or the girls or both, they want to do the mala and everything and be a demon at the same time. We'll do Krishna Bhakti and then, all right, you don't ask about anything else. We see Sutapa and Vrishni, they went through severe austerities. That is not possible in the present age. But at least we should follow some basic rules. We see some devotees are initiated, but they don't want to follow as they're supposed to follow. I'll be a devotee this much and other things also. But you can't make advancement if you're going to have a habit of eating non-devotee food. It used to be very strict in the Brahmin caste. They wouldn't take food from others. There was a reason for that, because Brahmins are supposed to practice higher consciousness. And taking food from people of lower consciousness means you're affected by their lower consciousness. But later it just became a symbol of prestige and rejection, that I won't take your food. But devotees are only supposed to take food offered to Krishna. So it's saying in the first generation Varna Sankara, they don't want to follow the rules. Later they turn the rule around. So we used to hear some supposed to be devotees saying, no, it's okay to eat karmi food. And now that we hear it preached, you should eat karmi food. Sadhu savdhan, be careful. Kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgang patastat kavayo vadanti. The path of spiritual life is very fine, very sharp like a razor. It's a difficult path. Kavayo vadanti. The people who know, they say this. So we don't have to take difficulties as Sutapa and Vrishni did, not at that level. We have to take some difficulty. If we think I'll only do the things I like and not the things I don't like, that is ardha kokutinyan. Someone, not a devotee, he used to keep a chicken so he could get an egg to eat every day or so. Then he became very intelligent. He thought, I like the backside of the chicken because it gives me eggs. But the front side is not good because I have to pay to feed it. Cut off the front side and keep the back side. And you end up with no eggs either. So there are restrictions to follow. But in modern society, they want to say, throw out all the restrictions. Live now, be happy now. This is animal idea. The animal can't think, it can't make planning for the future. In some ways they may do. The birds make nests before they copulate and have eggs. And in that way the birds may be more responsible than people in the modern age. We find most birds, most species, there's a male and a female and they stay together throughout life. Now we became less civilized than the birds. Are you enjoying this class? It's not meant for your enjoyment. Generally, they like to come if they can enjoy the class. Hear some nice stories, have a few jokes. But Krishna consciousness is not a joke. Living in the modern world is not a joke. Living in the world at any time is bad, but at the present time, it's so bad. People are suffering so much, and they're making everyone else suffer. Srila Prabhupada kindly came and gave us the solution to get out of this horrible, nasty civilization. So take it and don't be deluded, don't be misled by so-called devotees who cheat you. Don't spoil your good opportunity of Krishna consciousness by being so relaxed that you don't go back to Godhead. Any question, please?
Maharaj, you have told in your Brahmacharya and Krishna consciousness book that if you get sexual desires, then you take bath in cold water, but don't go to prostitute. How to understand that?
Try it and see. Are you thinking of going to a prostitute? I don't think so. Did I write that? I don't remember. Maybe I should read it again. Maybe I should read it myself. I don't remember. It's a long time since I wrote it. What do our mothers think? They think it's a very heavy class against women. Is it? Women-hating class. Another one. We find in the first chapter of Bhagavad-gita that Arjuna was very concerned about the women because they have such an important role in upholding the culture. But they can be easily misled, and that makes a whole hellish situation in society. So that is going on at the present time. Women are being targeted with demoniac propaganda, and they are contributors in this way to making a hellish situation in society. If you can follow the example of Sita Devi, that will be very good. Anasuya, Savitri, Damayanti. Maybe the older women, they know all these stories, but the younger women, who do they know? All the film stars who are all just like prostitutes. And these are their role models. I saw a few weeks ago on the cell phone, what do you call that? The page?
The first page you did.
Wallpaper, is it called? The wallpaper, screen, the picture, it was on one of my female disciples. On her screen, the picture that comes up was of some attractive young Western woman with tight clothing. Hare Krishna. By accident I saw it, or by Krishna's arrangement, you could say. I can't understand. They come to the temple, they chant japa, and they have this. Any other question?
வேற ஏதாவது கேள்வி இருக்கா?
Yeah. Please try to sit so you don't show your back to the deities.
மகாராஜ் நம்ம பிஸ்னஸ் எல்லாம் பண்றோம். பிஸ்னஸ் பண்ணும்போது அந்த போட்டி பொறாமை சில நேரத்தில் வந்து அடக்கக்குறம் கூட வெளிப்படுது. எப்படி இது இருக்கிற காலகட்டத்தில் பிஸ்னஸ் பண்ணும்போதோ இல்லை சமுதாயத்து மக்களுக்கு காணும்போதோ எப்படி ஒரு கிருஷ்ண பக்தரை நம்ம எதிர்கொள்ளணும்? காமத்தை போதை
Maharaj, now we have to do business and there are a lot of enviousness and then competition, and sometimes we express our anger. So, being a devotee, how we can conduct in this kind of situations, we can deal with common
How
people.
can you do business and remain pure-hearted? That's more or less the question. Yeah, it's difficult, no doubt. Previously, business means you'd have a cloth shop or a kirana shop. It was straightforward business. There'd be some bargaining over the price of the sari or whatever, but not big. Everyone knows more or less what the price is, and pretty straightforward business. Nowadays, business means so much cheating and exploiting and squeezing people. What business do you do?
Uh, uh, Plastic items and some small puja items selling.
Selling plastic puja items. Well, you're not selling pharmaceuticals. That's really sinful, that business. That you'll say that someone will give a price and you'll say, no, that's less than my purchase price, which is a lie. This kind of lie you tell, is it? And the customer also knows it's a lie. You can look in Bhagavad-gita, that verse in the 18th chapter. What is that? Sava Ramba Hidoshena. What is the next line? Sadosham api natyajet. In every work there's some fault, but one shouldn't give it up for that sake. So Srila Prabhupada gives that example. He says in business, the businessman may say to the customer, for you I make no profit. But he must be making a profit, otherwise he can't do business. The faults that come in business are cancelled to a large extent by giving charity. That's why in the Vaishya community, they know very well they have to give charity. By studying Srila Prabhupada's books and understanding the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, that will help us to become free of our lower tendencies. It's hard, but nothing good comes easy. It may not come immediately. We have to keep on trying. Just like a child is learning to walk, he's going to fall down. He may fall down many times, but he has to get up and gradually become strong. We have to practice Krishna consciousness. Okay, anything else? Otherwise we'll finish. My guidance is required for youngsters how to improve the present situation. Yeah, I can give. Anyone want to follow? No. All right, we'll finish. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for coming. With more hands going up.
Yes.
One lady.
Mataji,
She wanted to
give the
ask.
mic back.
Okay.
Okay. Her question is that Prabhupada have said that ladies should not be alone. But Maharaj is saying that brahmacharis or gents should not get married.
Men don't
So
get married.
how we can?
Then one man can have 2,000 wives. That's a joke. The real solution is everyone should become Krishna conscious, responsible. But there's no easy solution just to make everyone become Krishna conscious. We have to work on it. It's very, very hard. The personality of Kali has everyone by the throat and is strangling them. That's why, again, I say, Srila Prabhupada, he didn't have faith in this society. He wanted to create a whole different way of life, the original Varnashram. But anyway, I can say men don't get married, but most of them will anyway. But it'd be good if they had some good training before that. What would you think about 2 drug addicts getting married? It would be a nice marriage. But everyone's addicted to watching all nonsense things on their cell phone. Everyone's brainwashed by this idea that you have to have lots of money and work hard and have a so-called good job. Everyone's brainwashed by the idea that women should have good careers, the most important thing. Anyway, don't worry.
Her question is that when we read Bhagavad-gita, it is said that women are chanchala. So sometimes we understand that. But in India, it is taught that women has to be given respect like that. So how to understand that?
Both things are there. This is discussed in detail in my book, Mothers and Masters.
What is the Tamil title?
I think that's not available in Tamil, is it?
It's not available.
Not available. Is it? I don't think so.
It's not in Tamil.
Otherwise, you can ask, I was going to say your grandmother, but I don't know if she's still alive. Chaste women are to be respected. They're also to be controlled, because the uncontrolled mind is the worst enemy. So if the woman, her mind is not controlled, then she can cause havoc. I can be imprisoned for this probably nowadays, saying these things. No, it's not a joke. It probably can be. Of course, the man, he should also control his mind. It's just, I was saying, if you have two drug addicts, what kind of a marriage is that going to be? So if you have both the man and the women, their minds are uncontrolled, it's going to be a chaos. The mind should be controlled by training from the beginning of life in dharma. Therefore, again, we have to introduce varnashram dharma. Right now, we're in a very, very difficult situation. If you hadn't noticed, that's the problem. No one notices. They just take it as normal. In these prestigious colleges, the people send their girls and their boys to these prestigious colleges. And they go to VIT or whatever, Vellore Institute of Technology. And then the children live on the campus, in the hostel or whatever, away from the parents. And the parents, before they can commit their children, they have to sign a contract. And in the contract, it's written, if my child becomes a drug addict, or if my daughter gets pregnant, no, we won't make a case against the college.
என்னுடைய
VIT,
பையன் போதை
and they'll send their children there and pay lakhs of rupees to do so. So is it better for women to accept the guidance of a good and be obedient to a good Krishna conscious husband, if you can find one? Is that better? Or is it better that she's pregnant before she's married, or has 20 abortions before she's married? When she's married, she's always fighting with her husband. Which is better for the woman? I'm asking. You think for yourself. Hare Krishna. We'll finish there. All glories to His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada.